On the final day of the 1967-68 season, the two Manchester clubs, City and United, were neck and neck at the top of the old First Division. Both had played 41 matches and were separated only by goal average, with City top. Here was tension. It all came down to the last match in May. While City held a slight numerical advantage, the Blues were at 10th place Newcastle and the Reds home to Sunderland, who had avoided relegation. City travelled to St James Park thinking they would almost certainly need to win to secure a first league title since 1937. City had not anticipated this scenario in August. United were reigning league champions, City had finished 15th. By February, United were 6 points clear. But City saw that Newcastle had, the previous Saturday, lost 6-0 at Old Trafford, and the narrow leaders also had Colin Bell and Mike Summerbee past fit, after a week of anxiety and treatment. As the Newcastle Evening Chronicle put it, the same paper noted there were hordes from Manchester, gaily bedecked City fans who had poured in all morning. They were, apparently, singing "We Are the Champions" before kick-off. The previous day's report referred to 20,000 Mancunians invading Tyneside. And those journeys were to be justified 13 minutes in when Summerbee gave the visitors the lead. But it was end-to-end, Newcastle equalising 90 seconds later. Although Neil Young put City 2-1 up, before half-time Newcastle again levelled. If United, as expected, were winning at Old Trafford, then the Blues were going to finish second. But, when they entered the dressing room, City discovered their rivals were 2-1 down at home. Whether that brought fresh impetus or not, Sky Blue shirts attacked the Gallowgate end in the second half and scored two more, first from Young and then from Francis Lee. That made it 4-2. Newcastle brought the score back to 4-3 with 10 minutes left, but City held on. They were champions for only the second time in their history. Lee was 24 and had been signed in October that season from Bolton for a club record £60,000 fee. He was a small, dynamic forward who scored 16 goals in that campaign, second only to Young's 19. If Lee was one clever signing by the managerial pairing of Joe Mercer and Malcolm Allison, captain Tony Book was another. Book was approaching his 34th birthday in 1968 and had played his first Football League match just 4 years earlier. He had been signed from Plymouth Argyle, where Allison had briefly been manager. Book played all 42 league games, and while there was a focus on the attacking triumvirate, Lee, Bell and Summerbee, Book, Young, George Heslop, Alan Oakes and Glyn Pardoe all played 40 games or more. What Bell, a Sunderland fan, recalled was the traffic on the way back to Manchester. There were so many City fans on the road. Allison got off the bus to have a walkabout. It was typical of a flamboyant man, whose instant response to winning the title and City therefore playing in the European Cup for the first time was to brand foreign coaches cowards. In Allison's mind, Europe meant defensive football. Allison could make Jose Mourinho seem bashful. But what an impact he and Mercer made at Main Road. As with every season, 1967-68 can be seen in isolation. In Manchester City's case, though, it is worth rewinding 5 years. The achievement of 1968 is all the more remarkable because in 1963 City were relegated to the second division. City conceded 102 goals and the club morale was so demoralised the following year one director raised the possibility of a merger with United. It was a serious proposal. Nor did City not bounce back from relegation. They finished 6th in the second division, and then in May 1965, as United won the title, they came 11th. It was the club's lowest placing since joining the second division in 1894, and City's average attendance in 1964-65 was 15,000. Enter Mercer. The former England and Arsenal player had been sacked by Aston Villa in 1964. Both he and City were in the doldrums. In Mancunian terms, they were also in the shadow of Matt Busby and United. But through a few shrewd signings, such as Book, Bell and Lee, Mercer and Allison built on the existing squad. This was no checkbook title win. The next year they won the FA Cup and, in 1970, the European Cup Winners' Cup. As for United, 4 days after losing their domestic title they got past Real in Madrid to reach the European Cup final, which of course they won at Wembley, beating Benfica 4-1. May 1968, it was some month in Manchester.